I hope you're all having a good lunch. I'm Dr. Gordon Rohde from Plaque, Washington, and Tekla invited us to make a presentation today. It was a little while ago we came up with the idea that Dr. Sweat's going to be 94 and wanted to figure out another way of honoring him. So with Dr. Matt and Tekla and I, we wanted to honor him in a special way. Tekla asked our office to be the lunch presenter by introducing Rohde Chiropractic Massage and Health from Plaque, Washington. Us being from the West Coast, chance to get to know you all. And there's about a half a dozen of us here from the West Coast here today. We do have a lively group. We have advanced seminars that meet usually once a year, maybe every other year with the COVID. Our office is 5 AO chiropractors. We also have a massage building next door to us, 13 licensed massage therapists, 2 nutritional counselors, and 1 acupuncturist. There is a total of 45 staff and practitioners that we all work together. None of this has been possible without Dr. Roy, Dr. Matthew, Tekla, and all of the Atlas orthogonal world that has guided us since we've been involved since 1984. 4 of our doctors are here today. One is taking care of patients. He's at home. Dr. Sam is also enrolled in Dr. Sweat's advanced certification classes, and he'll be here 4 times this year, so he took a break and stayed home. You will hear from each of us in just a moment, but on behalf of Dr. Matthew, Tekla, and myself, and all of you, I'm proud to present Dr. Roy with a bronze plaque, which now and forever will name him as the father of Atlas Orthogonal. This plaque will be hung at the Sweat Clinic in their lobby, which is kind of like a museum, forever. So we'd like to show you this plaque. And then I'll read to you what's on the plaque. With appreciation, honor, and much gratefulness, this plaque represents the abundance of happiness that you have made in our lives. Our own health and giving our patients the wow adjustment that allows the miracle of chiropractic to work so well. And we signed it from all AO chiropractors. What do you think? Happy birthday, Dr. Sweat. I have to say you look great.
I hope you make 94.
I hope I make 94 too. So I'd like to invite the other doctors from our clinic to stand for the moment. I'm going to go first, and each one will introduce themselves. But I am Dr. Gordon Rohde. I graduated in 1981, now 40 years ago. I wanted my own business to help people, and whatever I did, they had to go out better than they came in. I found out chiropractic would allow me to achieve all these goals. After graduating, my own chiropractor bought the first Atlas orthogonal percussion instrument in Washington State and used it on me. I got the miracle of chiropractic and a wow adjustment. My vertigo, my stomach condition, and my left leg sciatica went away. I started drawing lines at Dr. Simmons' office, then bought a handheld instrument and a portable headpiece, and I was on my way. My brother, Dr. Doug Rohde, next graduated from Chiropractic College, and we both practiced Atlas Orthogonal for the next 26 years together until his death. We hosted the West Coast Advanced Seminars for Dr. Roy and later Dr. Matt and all of the other wonderful speakers that we could. Dr. Doug and I became a board-certified Atlas Orthogonal doctor in the 1980s, and our certification numbers are number 41 and 42. And if you're ever in Dr. Sweat's office, his certificate says #1. Tekla asked each of us doctors to share a patient, I should say this first. Over the years, we have seen Dr. Roy teach in Maui, Hawaii, at the Parker Seminars in Las Vegas, and many of the West Coast hosted cities. We love coming to Atlanta for seminars. Some of the best one-on-one times with Dr. Roy was at the Waffle House restaurant here in Atlanta, his favorite breakfast place. He taught me. Tekla asked each of us doctors to share a patient testimonial. Every day brings new miracle responses. But last week, Kathleen, age 76, came to the office for the first time. She was having devastating headaches. She moved to Puyallup from Oregon with and her new husband brought her there. He was a patient and sent her in. She had taken every drug and several MD visits and still no relief or cure. She put down 10 out of 10 on the pain scale and did not want to live another day. My exam found a lateral head tilt, lower shoulder, short leg, and grade 3 scanning pressure on the neck and an x-ray finding of a subluxation complex. I assured her I could handle this and she would be 50% better by tomorrow with the Atlas orthogonal percussion adjustment. She said, let's go. Everything went perfect for her and my treatment. The next day, Kathleen came to the office with a big smile on her face, tears in her eyes, and said the headaches are 100% gone. And she slept wonderfully. So thank you, Dr. Roy, for Atlas Orthogonal. I do want to share one more testimonial. It's my own 12-year-old grandson. His name is Solomon. He was reading in bed, and after a while, his head got stuck to the right. I already had x-rays on him, so I adjusted him with the Atlas orthogonal instrument. Usually torticollis takes about 3 days to resolve with daily care, but it was now the third day and he was not really better. We went to church together, and I asked Solomon about halfway through the service if he wanted to go out and stretch and get a drink of water. He had to hold his own head while I pressed the button. After that, he began to sob, and we were alone by the drinking fountain. After 3 days of pain, Solomon asked me why God has not healed him yet. I said that God does heal, but we have to be listening and we have to wait for God. Just then I heard from God tell me to adjust Solomon on the other side. And so I did, right there in the basement of the church. I adjusted my grandson on the other side, and Solomon started to feel different. By the time we went home, he had less pain, and by the next day, he had his miracle too. So thank you. Happy birthday, Dr. Sweat. And thank you for all that you've done to make my life as good as it gets.
Hello, my name is Amy Stoltenberg. I just got married this last year, but as in office, I'm still known as Dr. Amy Brody. Keep the name going. But I graduated from the University of Western States in 2007. I began working as a chiropractor at our office in January 2008. I grew up in a chiropractic home with my dad, Dr. Gordon, who adjusted me when I was less than a week old. It was noticed I couldn't turn my head one direction when following his movement. And being trained as a chiropractor, he knew that wasn't normal. After receiving my first Atlas orthogonal treatment, I could immediately start to follow his finger movement, and I could fully turn my neck normally. So that's what started me off loving chiropractic and having the help that I do today. I began working at our family chiropractic office when my dad and my uncle, Dr. Doug Brody, worked together. I began filing at 13 years old, front desk at 16 years old, and eventually became an x-ray technician. I worked in the office through undergraduate, and eventually leaving to go to chiropractic college myself in Portland. I chose my school based primarily on location and wanting to be close to home, but I knew going to school that I would never cervically rotate anybody's neck unless I had to. I wanted to be an Atlas orthogonal chiropractor. I even brought about 7 students to our office one day for a seminar just to tell them about the Atlas orthogonal technique with my dad and my uncle. I wanted to open their eyes to other possibilities, more than just manual chiropractic. After school, I attended the basic and advanced seminars and went through the certification class in Atlanta, and I finished August 2013, and my certificate number was 402. Now, over 13 years later, I've been using Atlas orthogonal percussion instrument along with other instrument adjusting for the spine ever since. One recent new patient that came to my office last month was referred by a massage therapist who worked at another chiropractor's office just 2 blocks away. This patient was a 45-year-old female who had been having significant lower back pain that was locking up, sciatic pain bilaterally into both knees. She had some neck stiffness, jaw clicking, and other upper back tightness as well. She had been adjusted regularly and massaged weekly for many years, but wasn't getting the relief like normal. In the last few weeks, she began getting numbness in her feet and cold outer fingers bilaterally following her manual adjustments. She had a history of 3 motor vehicle collisions in the last 11 years, but no other recent trauma. After evaluation, finding a right short leg of 1/4 inch and weakness of all the limbs, I x-rayed her neck and back. She had an atypical high right contralateral pattern with a posterior rotation. She had mild lower cervical facet degeneration, and she had 3 scoliosis curvatures in her lower thoracic, upper lumbar, and sacroiliac area. Following her adjustment, she immediately reported feeling much lighter, good flow to both limbs with no numbness and cold initially. The next day, she reported feeling so much better with still no numbness and cold in her extremities. And after about 4 treatments, she's now in maintenance care. This is the kind of thing that makes me happy to be an Atlas orthogonal chiropractor, with the tools to help so many more people than we could ever have imagined. So thank you, Dr. Roy. Happy 94th birthday. Thank you for all the hard work that you've put into bringing about this technique. I wouldn't be the lady I am today, personally, professionally, or in my community without you. And thank you to Dr. Matt, Angelo, Tekla, and all the others who have put so much time, sacrifice, and hard work into making our technique, our group, and our profession what it is today. God bless Dr. Sweat, and God bless Atlas orthogonal.
I'm Dr. John Geppy Head, or as some of you know me, as when I went to school, I went by Dr. Guppy. I graduated from Life University in September of 2012 to remove the burden of fast math. I practice now for just over 8.5 years. I first learned about the Atlas orthogonal chiropractic technique when Dr. Matt Sweat came to my 5th quarter toggle class and presented some case studies of what was happening with Atlas orthogonal. He explained about the specificity of the technique and showed multiple miracle stories on slides from patients. And if I'm completely honest, I didn't believe it was that true. However, after receiving my first Atlas orthogonal adjustment in 9th quarter in school, I haven't looked back since. I was fortunate enough to have taken the Atlas orthogonal program as an elective in school at Life University, and was given the honor of being able to use that technique in the outpatient clinic at the time. Once completed there, I was able to, as I said, adjust the patients using the instrument while school. And I was even blessed with the opportunity to complete my schooling with a 6-month externship at the Sweat Clinic. And at that time, I was also able to start through the board certified program, which I was able to finish, and actually met Amy Rohde at the 4th class in Atlanta, and I'm certificate number 321. When Tekla asked to share about a patient testimonial, I immediately thought of my patient Christina. When she first came to our office, the very first thing she told me was that she had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And honestly, with a blank look on my face, I kindly asked her, "What is that?" She told me she suffered from severe ligament laxity, and therefore many of her joints would actually dislocate spontaneously on their own. With a worried look on her face, she asked if I was going to crack her neck. I assured her that was the last thing I was going to do, and I did not adjust like that. It went on to explain what the atlas orthogonal adjustment was. And as I explained the procedure to her, there was a calmness that came over her. The true testimony of Christina's story doesn't actually come from her first adjustment. Well, it does, but it doesn't. After her first atlas orthogonal adjustment, there was no immediate miracles, quote unquote. However, for the next 2 months of care, Christina reported feeling more and more stable in her joints. She reported that she came in first with a cane. Actually, she came in first with a walker, then it evolved to a cane, and then over 2 months, she actually was walking on her own. And she would wear special braces on her fingers so that her fingers wouldn't dislocate. And as she kept coming in, she would have less and less braces on her body. The true miracle was when Christina walked into our office 6 months later. I asked how she was doing, and unbeknownst to me, it had been 2 months since I'd last seen her. She reported that she'd been feeling the best she has in her entire life, and that she was able to do more activities with her grandkids. And I remember her specifically saying to me that she was able to get down on her knees and garden in the backyard for the first time ever. The joints throughout her whole body were staying in place, were no longer dislocating at the rate they once were. She looked me right in the eyes and said, "Thank you, Dr. John, for giving me my life back." Dr. Roy, I attribute that to you. I'm so thankful for your devotion to the Atlas Orthogonal program, and the improvements that this woman has received is because of you. Happy 94th birthday, Dr. Roy.
Thank you, John.
It is great to be back in Atlanta, and it's great to be united with the masses of the AO family.
Good day. I'm Dr. Christopher Barone. I started at Rotary Chiropractic as a patient years ago, and I'm still there. Recently, Gordon asked me to come up with an introduction of myself, how AO has changed my life, maybe interesting patient experience. For me, this is pretty difficult. I see lives changed by AO almost daily. So who do I talk about? So I figured, being relatively new to the group, I'll talk about myself and my experience. So I figured I'd kill 3 birds with one stone. Okay, I turned down college scholarship years ago for baseball to join the Marine Corps, which was a childhood calling of mine. After the Marine Corps, I started pushing the extremes: backcountry snowboarding, dirt biking. Somewhere along the way, I picked up baseball again, realized I could still play. After a couple of years, training, playing, tryouts, I found myself in AA, pitching again. This is where it gets interesting. At this point, 6 years since high school, I'd broken over 10 bones, 3 surgeries, plate screws, blew up a shoulder, all sorts of injuries. Just tearing my body up. All these injuries were painful, but they didn't really slow me down. I kept going. One day in the backcountry of Crystal Mountain, I took a spill snowboarding. I remember cartwheeling down the hill uncontrollably, over and over again, flipping. A couple different points my helmet touched my back, and I thought, this is it. I broke my neck. I'm done. I'm gonna die out here. Well, I came to. Arms and legs worked for the most part. I got out of there. In true Marine Corps fashion, I didn't see any doctor. This is my chiropractor. I didn't go to the ER, didn't go anywhere. I started training. I knew preseason was coming up. So during preseason, we're doing 2-day workouts. We're lifting weights in the morning, running in the evening. One day lifting weights, I felt a snap, heard a snap in my lower back. So that was kind of weird. But I kept on going, ran that day, went to bed feeling a little tight, woke up the next day, couldn't move my legs, couldn't feel anything. I was scared. I was real scared. Over the next couple months, I went to 2 different chiropractors, which didn't really help much. If not, maybe made it worse with some diversified techniques. Went to the ER twice. My PCP numerous times, 2 different surgeons, no avail. 12 of them, my only option was surgery. And 27, I couldn't fathom a lumbar fusion in any way, shape, or form. So, at some point, I was living in my living room, crawling around, and one day I couldn't crawl to the bathroom, so I scheduled the surgery. A teammate of mine came to visit one day, heard my story, He said, go try this chiropractor. He saved my dad's life. And I thought, what do I got to lose? Right? So 3 weeks before my surgery, I took enough Dilaudid muscle relaxers to get me somewhat mobile. And halfway walk crawled into Rody Chiropractic. And I saw a doctor named Doug Rody. I'll never forget that day. He walked in the room with a cane and a stern look on his face. So I hunched in pain and told him my story. He listened and walked over and grabbed my neck. Then he looked me dead in the eye and he said, I'm going to fix you. And I said, this guy's crazy. He hasn't seen my MRIs. He hasn't talked to other doctors. No way. But high as a kite, I didn't care. I went over to X-ray. And that day I got my first Atlas adjustment. And I stood up off the table. I hadn't stood in months. I went home that night, woke up the next day and called and canceled my surgery. I attended a handful of adjustments, not many because I was a terrible patient. Still am. 5 months later, with a whole bunch of training on my own, and like I said, those handful of adjustments, I ended up joining my team again as a starting pitcher in the playoffs. Over the next 2 years, 2 years, playing ball, I'd occasionally break myself. And I'd go in for an adjustment or two, and then disappear again. You know, Amy would fix me or Doug would fix me. But one day, my last visit with Doug, he walked in the room, and I was all tore up. And he suddenly shook his head and he laughed and he goes, Chris, you can't keep doing this. And I said, I'm starting to believe you. He asked, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to help people like you do. He said, okay, well, go get your degree, and then you come here and I'll teach you what you need to know. Unfortunately, I didn't make him back to the practice in time for him to train me himself, but I got a great team with me. To date, my disc space is fully restored on MRIs and X-rays. My spine is fully functional. I'm back to doing all the stupid things I used to do. I'm sure this is just one story that you guys have heard millions of, but I'm forever grateful. Thank you, Roy. Thank you all.